I'll start recording. Okay,
Mhm.
so it's going. It should save to my computer and then I can send it to you like a Google Drive file. So
Okay,
you have like the
perfect.
full, the
Thank
good
you.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes I get that thing where it doesn't download. Anyway, I need to sort out my computer. That's the bottom line.
Sounds like you need an external hard drive and you got to get that shit off
Yes,
your
I need to
computer.
get myself a hard drive and shift everything onto it. Okay, so welcome everybody, and thanks for joining me today on the Chakra Meditation podcast. Today, I have the beautiful Kelsey Aida joining me. So, welcome, Kelsey.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I was so happy that you said my middle name right on the first try. I was like, wow, we're really going to be friends.
Yeah. So Kelsey is a self-empowerment coach. She's an author, transformational facilitator, and podcaster. So Kelsey is easily available. You can find her wisdom all over the place. But I'm really excited to have you here because it seems to me when I found you that your big thing seems to be self-love, manifesting. And I think that we all need a lot more self-love and self-care. And I think that people find it quite difficult to find what that looks like for them. So this is what I wanted to kind of really dig into with you. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, just tell me a little bit about your journey and how you came to be this coach.
Yeah. So for me, I've had a couple of dark night of the soul moments in my young adulthood. And I feel intuitively that I've lived many lifetimes. And people are always like, oh my gosh, you're so wise for your age. How old are you? How can you be like helping people when you're only in your 20s? Blah, 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 And it's interesting because the reason why I really got into helping people to love themselves and to manifest their desires, like the two are more intertwined than people think. And
Mhm.
it first started when I was climbing out of a severe depression. I was stuck in a depression for like 3 years. I was clinically diagnosed. I didn't want to use medicine because I just felt that wasn't the right path for me. Like I really wanted to like power my way back to health, like
Yeah.
mindset, lifestyle, everything. And once I was able to heal from that, so much information was like downloaded into my body and my brain. And I just felt like I understood how to create a good quality of life on a level that I never understood before. And I was so excited about my discoveries that I really had to teach them. I was like, I'm going to be the next Deepak Chopra. I'm going to write all these best-selling books. Like, I need to share the medicine with everybody. Like, if people
Yeah.
only knew this information, if people only knew how to feel good, how to empower themselves, like the world would be such a better place with less crime, less disease, more harmony, heaven on earth vibes, right? Like that's
Yeah.
my thing.
Mm.
So when that happened, I was like, well, I want to write books. Nobody knows who I am. I need to build a following. So I started a blog and I would blog about healing from anxiety and healing from depression and working with your emotions and raising your vibration and manifesting your life deliberately on purpose with intention and moving energy and your emotions and just all the things that were really like helping me so much.
Mm.
And I've always had a knack, like a gift for synthesizing information and making things more simple. Ever since I was a little kid, like I would help, not tutor, but I would help the other kids in my class to see things from a different perspective if they weren't getting it, like the way the teacher was explaining it. I would be like, oh,
Mm.
just think about it like this. And I would see the light bulb go off. And I was like, that's
That's pretty
interesting.
cool.
The teacher
Yeah.
was explaining it for 8 hours and they couldn't get it. And then I showed them it in this one different way. And after 5 minutes, they got it. So I knew that I was like onto something, that I had something there. And so
Yeah.
I just started utilizing those gifts, but with the personal development and spiritual truths that I was using and learning and downloading at the time. And then it evolved into eventually more books, published books, self love retreats for women, which is like one of my favorite parts of what I do now. Transformation facilitation, like one on one work with people, usually via Zoom, sometimes in person. And I'm just really about quality of life. And I think anyone who's been severely depressed can tell you that life really doesn't mean much to you if you're not enjoying it to some degree. If you're not having a somewhat good time, a healthy time, if you're not in some degree of wellness, you can feel so bad that you literally want to take your own life. So, what does that say about how important quality of life is? Like, it's everything to us. And so, that's really my thing. I'm just an advocate for quality of life, and the modalities that I help people to raise their vibration and enjoy their life more and feel more well and create their life very deliberately are a lot of energetic mindset, manifestation, self-love practices. And where the two meet, sorry, my fiance keeps calling me. I'm like, dude, I'm in a call, a little busy. um, what it really is manifestation is like, you know, doing the mindset work, setting the intentions, being excited to like create your life. But then I realized, like, without the self-love piece, without the wellness on the inside, without the internal harmony, manifestation is much, much harder. And with the self-love piece, when you feel worthy, when you feel deserving, when you love yourself, when you let what you want in, when you give yourself permission to follow your heart, when you make it a priority to feel good, when you care about how you feel, manifestation is like a breeze. So the
Yeah,
two
it
really
does
go
yeah.
together very,
Mm.
very like synchronistically and really in harmony.
Yeah. No, I love that. I mean, it's just so, I love it when it's a very straightforward, just this is what we need more of in our lives. The
Yeah.
self-love, that sense of worthiness and deserving, I think, is the thing that a lot of people find difficult. And I think that modern society is that one of the most difficult things is seeing that everybody else seems to have it all. And,
Yes.
where's
Especially with
my,
social media.
yeah, exactly. Where's my beautiful boat in the blue waters and a bikini situation? Why isn't that? Why am I stuck in the cold, freezing, grey UK? you know, and so that's like, well, that instantly puts you in a different, you place yourself in a different kind of category, almost like, well, there's the people who are doing it and then there's me, and why can't I have it, and I'm not enough and I'm not good enough and I don't just. So this is important work. This is really, really important stuff. And it's basic, but without the foundations, how else are you going to do all the frilly
Right.
bits up on top? We need to
Exactly.
set those foundations. So I want to talk to you about your radical self-love that you have on your website, which I thought, I love that, radical self-love, because that's like really kind of like punchy.
Yeah.
And I think when you talk to people about self-love, and I know that when I do, because I work with the chakras, when I do chakra readings, one of the things that I always find most frequent is within the heart chakra, that inability to love the self. We're all very good at loving other people and giving out our love, but giving it to ourselves,
Yeah.
is not the easiest thing. So there is, one might say, an epidemic of that. Do I deserve my own love? I am happy to give it away, but receiving it and giving it to myself, not so easy. So how do you go about that as a coach, as somebody? Is it individual, or because I feel like when I tell people self-love, it is interpreted in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Some people it's just like, I just need a bit of time to myself. Other people it's, well, I need a whole spa day situation. Other people it's like, I need a holiday. What does self-love look like to you, and how can we bring it out of ourselves?
Yeah, so I agree with you that everyone has their own expressions of love for self, right? People express their love to themselves in different ways, in the same way that people express love to other people in different ways. Like, we've all heard of the 5 love languages. Some
Absolutely.
people really love to give love in touch or gifts or whatever it is. And usually, like, your love language to other people and how you receive love is a good starting point, like, for yourself. So if you're a touch person, like getting a massage, if you're a gift person, taking yourself on a little shopping afternoon, if you're a words of affirmation person, using positive affirmations. So that is a good point that you brought up. And for me personally, like, my definition, especially of radical self-love, is to love your whole self. So all aspects of you, all parts of you, but then we have to break down, like, what is love? And it gets confusing because we think often that love is just a next level like. And then in order to love yourself, you have to like everything about yourself to a high degree, which I don't find is actually true, which should be a relief to most people listening. You don't have to like everything about yourself in order to love yourself. And the way you can get around this is by really breaking down, like, what is love? Love is to embrace someone, to accept them for who they are. Love is to take the time to understand someone. Love is a very inclusive, encompassing, curious, compassionate energy. It's
Mm,
not just like the way that we use it in the English language, like, I love pizza, you know?
yes.
Like, you
Yeah.
really, really, really like pizza, but you don't love pizza. Like, you don't take the time to sit there and understand it. You're not like giving it a hug. You're not spending time with it. Like, you just really like how it tastes. That's a little different type of love than
Yeah.
when we talk about radical self-love. We're talking about making yourself whole again in the form of listening to yourself, being present with yourself, accepting yourself, understanding yourself, having compassion for yourself. And you don't have to like everything about yourself in order to love yourself. And I
Yeah,
think
I love that.
it's
It's kind
too
of
high of a standard. That's impossible. How can we like everything about ourselves? Like, that's just not going to happen.
exactly. And what it makes me think of, so I've been married. Just heard you say your fiance, you're about to get married. I've been married for 26 years, right? So I love my husband, but I don't always like him, and
Yes,
it's the
it's
same,
that.
it's that.
It's like, I have a sister. I love my sister always, but I don't always like her. Sometimes I think she's very annoying. Sometimes she gets on my nerves. Sometimes I'm like, get away from me. But that doesn't negate the love that's there,
Exactly.
right?
And I think you're right. I think that a lot of people think that they have to love everything about themselves. And I think one of the most difficult things that people find to love about themselves is their bodies, is their
Yeah.
physical, their meat suit. And that because we live in this, we could go on for hours about that. But I think I think giving yourself permission to not necessarily like that wobbly bit, but love it because it's part of you. That is a very it's liberating, actually.
It's super liberating. And the way that I help people to get there is with curiosity, which naturally leads to compassion, which also leads to understanding. And then you have more acceptance. So, for example, I used to really hate the part of me that's always anxious. Like, I can be on the worry spectrum, as all of us can be in this day and age, right? So, in my life, I have had an interesting relationship with my anxiety. It's always there, it's always going. But now that I've done the self love work with my anxious aspect, the part of me that always worries, I don't have a negative relationship with my anxiety, even when it comes up, because I understand why it's there. I understand that's trying to help me. I understand that this is a pattern I've been practicing for a long time. So it's probably not going to go away overnight. I have peace with it even when it comes up, and I can observe it almost like, we use meditation as a tool to separate and get into like the witness chair of our mind. So we're not in the problems, we can see them. And from the observation mode, from that witness mode, I can have compassion for my anxiety. I don't have to necessarily act on it. I know that just because I'm worried doesn't mean there's anything I have to be worried about. And in understanding myself and how I operate, I can have peace even in the anxious moments. And like, the way that I came to that understanding of my anxiety was, for me, I treat everyone's psyche as an ecosystem of different parts. So you're not just you as you think you are, right? You might have a part of you that's a protector part that is like protecting your heart and self sabotages your relationships. You might have a part of you that's, your inner child at whatever age that's traumatized from whatever thing. You might have a part of you that's an inner mean girl, your inner critic that's always getting on you, but really it's trying to help you to be a better person or whatever it is. Every single part of you is on your side. So,
Mm,
one, I need everyone to understand that. Even if it seems like the villain, even if it gives you so much grief in your life, even if it's just causing a ruckus, destroying everything, it has a good intention for doing so. And
yes,
when
there's
you can
behind
get
it.
to that good intention, when you can see its pure intentions, when you see, oh, my anxiety is just trying to help me so I don't have to worry in real life. It's the pre worry to the actual worry, trying to avoid any problems. oh, like you have this revelation that every part of you is trying to help you. And in that, it's impossible not to love it because you're like, oh my gosh, you're my biggest advocate. You're my best friend. Like, even people's inner critics are like, well, I'm just here to try and help her so she doesn't get criticized by the world. I'm just trying to help her to reach her peak performance. And like, maybe the way that these parts of you are trying to help is dysfunctional. Yes, we can reprogram them and help them to help you in a better way, but the intention is always pure and it's always positive and it's always for your highest good. So if you can go into your different parts, your different aspects, and be open and curious to seeing how it's trying to help you, it becomes much easier to accept it, to appreciate it, to love it. And yeah, you don't have to like how it's trying to help you. You don't have to like how it affects your life. You don't even have to like that part. You can be annoyed with it. But if you're understanding and compassionate towards it, which comes from the curiosity and the openness, you will create so much inner harmony. And then your inner harmony begins to reflect in your outer relationships, your whole life, every aspect of your life. And that's like the ultimate self-lovery that leads to like the ultimate manifestation hack. That was a lot. Does that make sense?
Absolutely makes sense. Do you know, it reminds me very much of an exercise that's in one of Anna Judith's chakra books, which I love. And it's for the heart chakra, obviously, and it's an inner family work where
Yes.
exactly that. And it's that sort of pushing them almost outside you. Like you have to do it written down, because once you've written it, you can think about it, but then you're still all in your head. If you write it down, you go, well, this is my inner critic, and this is my inner clown, and this is my inner child. And you work out how they all feel, what they all want, how they interact within each other. You know, does the inner clown, amuse the inner child? Is the inner critic trying to, boost up or protect the inner something else? We have all these parts of ourselves, and you're absolutely right. Putting them outside of ourselves, giving them compassion and empathy as you would somebody that you loved. Why don't we do that for ourselves? Why is it so hard to do that for ourselves?
I think that it's hard because in society we're taught to not love ourselves for the sake of capitalism. And also, I think it's just a naivety that our parents and our grandparents and people before us, like, they never learned how to love themselves. So they weren't going to teach you how to love yourself if they don't even know how to do it, or even the fact that it's important and helpful. So it's a little bit of programming from society. It's a little bit of lack of knowledge and awareness and passing down of these tools and teachings. And then we just get into this space of, I'm not skinny enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not hustling enough, I'm not this enough. And when you say that enough to yourself, you just start to believe it and get down. And of
Well, of
course, like
course,
anyone would feel down with that narrative in their mind.
exactly. And in the same way that both you and I know that positive affirmations work to make us, if you're telling yourself you're not you're not enough, of course that's going to work, because you attract what you recite in your mind.
Yeah.
So
And my podcast co host, Lindsay, she always says, you're most suggestible to your own programming. So you're most suggestible to what you tell yourself. Other people can tell you things about you, other people can try and get into your head, but what you say to yourself and about your life, you'll be most suggestible to. So pick wisely.
yeah, exactly. And I think, I think the wonderful thing is that most of the people who listen to my podcast and your podcast are already in that mindset, as like they know. And so they're looking to this kind of content in order to just kind of affirm that, to bolster that up. But what we need to do is reach out to all those people who go around going, oh my God, everything's hopeless, everything's a catastrophe, it's all, and I know a few. And you can say, listen, just don't think like that until you're blue in the face. But until they feel it, until they feel that energy of it working, it's but the more we can just keep banging that drum, the better, in my view. Yeah,
Yeah.
for
And
sure.
when I come across people that are like that come to me to work with me, like the more pessimistic ones, that usually means that there's a part of them, it's not their whole self. A part of them is very pessimistic, and they have
Mhm.
almost blended with that part so much that they think that that part alone is them. Right? It's like when you blend with your depression so much, your sad part, that you think you're only a depressed person when really you have all these other beautiful aspects inside of you as well. Or when I used to blend with my anxious part and then I just was like, I'm an anxious person, there's nothing more to me. Like, no, we are very multifaceted beings. So people who come to me and they're stuck in that pessimism, we have to assume that there's a good reason why they're doing that. Like, if we were going to get really curious and really open, what would be a good reason for being so pessimistic? And then if they're being really honest with themselves, they might be like, well, me being pessimistic is my way of protecting my feelings from the future. If I just assume it's going to be bad, then nothing can truly disappoint me. I'll just live in a state of disappointment to avoid spontaneous disappointment, right? And then when you discover that, you're like, well, that doesn't make sense because I'm trying to avoid disappointment, yet I'm putting myself in disappointment to avoid disappointment. And then it's like once you get to the root cause of it, you can be like, okay, do I want to keep operating like this or not? But it's not until you have the awareness and you ask the right questions and you're open to the answers that you can really make headway and change your being and your life in ways that feel really good.
Mm. Yeah, just let that one sink in.
Mic drop.
Because I think exactly, no, it's such an important thing to understand. And if if people have one of those pessimists, those catastrophizers in their lives, it's really useful to have that little tool, that just what you said, they just explain and try and help people out of that is super powerful stuff. So manifesting, affirmations, this is the next subject I want to get onto you with, because you are a big old, a little quick scroll through your Instagram, which is lovely, now following, so happy about that. Manifesting is quite a big thing for you, so talk me through your kind of manifesto, if you like.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because when I first started teaching manifestation, I was so excited about it because I was like, oh my God, this is so empowering. This is so awesome. Like, we get to design our lives and create our lives the way that we want. Like, people don't tell us this. They just say, this is how it is. This is the framework that everybody does. And this is what success looks like. And this is what happiness looks like. And then you try to fit into that box. And a lot of people don't fit in that box because there's no one size fits all. And then they're just
Yeah.
like wondering why they're miserable. They're like, well, I followed the formula. I did what everybody told me. Like, why don't I enjoy my life? Why do I hate my job? Why am I in the wrong marriage? And I think the art of manifestation is figuring out what you value, what you prefer, what you desire, and then meticulously creating a life that is aligned with that. And you can do it not only in the 3D with your body by making stuff happen, but you can also do it with your mind. You can do it by harmonizing your emotions. You can do it by loving yourself, like how we described earlier. There's just so many ways to align your energy in the direction of what you're wanting to create once you know what that is.
Okay,
But
so that's the first most important step, is working out actually what your heart's desire is.
yeah, because a lot of people don't know. And it's interesting because a lot of people think they want one thing, but they don't know why they want it. So, for example, like people want the luxury car, but like they don't really understand the reason, like the way that they think it's going to make them feel when they have it. Which is why when I'm coaching people through manifestation work and in my books, both of my manifesting books, Letters to the Universe and my Pocket Guide to Manifestation, I have exercises in there to walk people through, like, okay, do you know what you want? And they'll probably say, like, the house, the job, the spouse, the things we all want out of life, which nothing wrong with that. It's awesome. But then we got to take it deeper. Why do you want it? How do you think you're going to feel when you have it? Who are you trying to become? How are you trying to feel? Because manifestation, it's really not only a journey of creating, it's really a journey of becoming that person that you want to be, becoming that person that has that dream life, becoming that awesome partner, becoming that amazing artist. Like, I believe, and I found this like in observation to be pretty true so far, that it's almost like on a soul level, we use our manifestations, our desires as like carrot on a stick to motivate our spiritual growth and our personal evolution. Because oftentimes to get to that manifestation, to align with what you say you want, you're going to have to do some healing work. You're going to have to raise your vibration. You're going to have to change something about your life. Like, it's not just ask and you shall receive. If it was that simple without steps in between, everyone would have $1 billion. Everyone would live in a mansion. Everyone would have their boat on the blue waters with their bikini body, like how you described, right? But clearly it's not that simple, because like not a lot of people have those things that we all usually say that we want. So it's really a game of energetic alignment and becoming your best self and creating space in your life and in your being to be who you want to be and to express yourself in the world the way that you want to express yourself.
But and I understand that it's perfectly, it's yes, straightforward. That's a yes. I understand that. But but if you don't know what you want, if you think that you want, you know, you want a great career, say, you know, I want a big career and I make lots of money, and say you get there and you're in the big office and you're strutting into the office in your fabulous designer clothes and feeling great about yourself, but there's still an emptiness inside. There's still something that's missing. You know, I think that you can do that journey, get there and find it's missing, or you can just sort of emptily want it but not get there because your heart's not in it. But what I'm trying to dig down into is that, what is it that, for me anyway, that the thing that I think most people are after is not a material thing, it's a feeling of contentment.
Exactly.
And it sounds really mundane, just contentment.
Contentment. Yeah, but contentment looks like a little bit different for everyone and feels a little different. And like some people might say what would make them content would be, you know, to feel like they are contributing, or, you know, contentment to someone else might look like loving another person or whatever it is. And this is where I like to make the distinction between surface desires and genuine desires. So like in your verbiage, it's like your heart's desire is what I would call your genuine desire. So let's say you want to manifest a beautiful, awesome, big dream home. Okay, let's go with that. If that's your surface desire, then if we were to ask the questions, okay, what's the goal of this goal? How do I think I'm going to feel when I have this? What am I really after here as far as like a feeling? It would probably be like safety, security. Maybe you want to feel luxurious, opulent, whatever it is. Once you get to those experiences, those feelings that you're really after, that's your genuine heart's desire. The house is cool. That might be fun. But what you're really after are those feelings, which are going to give you the contentment, like how you're saying. So once you know that, by asking those questions and doing some really honest, deep digging self-inquiry, being super, super honest with yourself, you can go, okay, instead of just going for the house, let me go directly for those feelings. How can I feel more luxurious in my life? How can I feel more secure in my life right now? How can I feel more, I forgot what the other word was that I used, but
opulent, I think.
Yeah, opulent, luxurious, secure, whatever it is, successful, whatever you want the house for. How can you feel those ways now? And what's stopping you from feeling like that now? And usually it's a narrative. Usually you're not giving yourself permission until you have the thing. Usually you're judging yourself for wanting to feel like that. Like there can be different blockages and resistance there, which is what I like to help people troubleshoot and work through. But I try to advocate for people to manifest directly, quote unquote, AKA to manifest and focus on and put your energy into feeling how you want to feel. And the beauty of that is that as a side effect, as a bonus, that thing that you wanted, the surface desire, it will probably come because now you're aligned energetically with what you truly want and the feeling of that experience. And so you don't have to have the thing in order to feel like that. You start feeling like that, and then the thing comes as a cherry on top. You don't need it to feel that way anymore.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Makes sense?
No, and it comes back to all that lovely, juicy quantum physics that I adore of finding that vibrational match. and it will come straight back to you. And raising your vibrations is something your podcast is high vibing it. So raising your vibrations is one of my favorite subjects, one of my favorite things to do. And people get bored of this. I've had this a million times already, Roseanne, but my favorite way of raising vibrations is through gratitude.
Yeah.
Gratitude all day long. You know, I've got a beautiful big oak tree at the end of my garden, and it's got a little tendril that comes down, and every time I go past it, I go and I hold hands, and I get all these shivers, these lovely shivers down my spine, because I connect with that energy. And sometimes I have requests, and sometimes I just say thank you, thank you, thank you. But finding purposeful gratitude and really nurturing that, like, one of the easiest things I think a lot of people find to be grateful for are their pets, because pets are that beautiful unconditional love source, and finding that gratitude, and then the love and the joy that surrounds that, and that raises the vibrations. Enough about me. How do you like to raise your vibrations, Kelsey?
Yeah, I agree with you that gratitude is a really powerful, very quick, very efficient way to do that. And I'll tell a little story that when I was coming out of depression, one of the most potent tools that helped me to climb out of the hole was a gratitude practice. And it was every morning I would write in my journal 3 things that I was thankful for or more. And then at night, I would write a couple of things good that happened to me that day. And at first, it was hard because when you're in a low vibrational state, you're not really matched to like grateful thoughts, right? You're not just like thinking about how grateful you are all the time. You're probably like kind of annoyed with life, not liking anything about your life. So when I started doing that, it was really a practice of even the simple things like I'm grateful that I get to sleep in this bed because I'm so over life right now and I just want sleep. Like I'm grateful for my bed, or I'm really grateful for these super comfortable slippers that just give my feet pleasure, even though I'm like really annoyed with my life or whatever it was in that moment, just the little things starting there. And then it evolved into I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful that I didn't commit suicide. I'm grateful for, that I didn't flunk out of school, even though I was so depressed. Like I'm grateful for X, Y, and Z. And they usually get bigger, they get more meaningful. And eventually it began with 3 things a day, and then it was a page, and then it was 2 pages. And it just gets easier as you practice it because you get into the vibration of gratitude and it just becomes so natural. And what it really did for me as a person who was depressed is the neural pathways in the brain when you're depressed are firing and triggering very differently than when you're happy. And when you're depressed, it's often, if you don't know why, you create reasons why, because you don't want to feel crazy. So you're justifying your depression by looking for things in your life that don't feel good. And then you're focusing on the bad, everything that's wrong, everything that's not working. And then you feel more depressed. So it's like a self-fulfilling spiral, right? And the opposite was true with gratitude. When I started looking for things that were right, things that were working, things that were good, things that I appreciated, I literally retrained the neural pathways in my mind to focus on good, to focus on gratitude, to focus on basically like the positivity that was always there, but I couldn't see it before, right? So 3 weeks of that was one of the most potent forms of medicine to pull me out of the slump. And after practicing gratitude for some time, I remember that I was feeling better than I'd even felt before the depression. I was like on another level of life. I was like crying tears of like gratitude, like under a tree, meditating, just like so content, so fulfilled, so happy, so grateful. And that's my gratitude testimonial that I had to throw in there.
No, it's so powerful, and I never get tired of hearing about the power of gratitude, and I think what gratitude is also is a sort of beginning step to affirmations. It's the same kind of work as affirmations, because when you force your brain to say the words I'm really grateful for X and mean it and feel it, that's why the vibrations rise. But it's the words, it's those positive words, which is why I'm always telling people to use affirmations and say it until it doesn't make sense anymore, till it just sounds like speaking gobbledygook, because the words it doesn't matter if you don't believe it or if you don't feel it. So I don't know, do you subscribe to that way of using affirmations, just like kind of almost ringing them down your throat until your mind
Yeah,
believes it?
with a certain caveat. So
Yeah,
my
yeah.
caveat is the affirmation has to either give you a sense of relief or give you a sense of expansion. If
Okay.
you shove an affirmation down your throat that feels fraudulent, it's gonna do more harm than good. So for example, so
Yeah.
many people, like, if they want to affirm like how healthy they are, but they don't feel healthy, they don't look healthy, they know they're not healthy, and they're just like, oh, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy. They're gonna probably be judging themselves when they say it. They're gonna probably feel like a fraud. They're
There's going to
gonna
be an
probably,
internal dialogue going
yes, it
on, going,
becomes like
yeah,
an
right.
internal warfare, right? Of like, well, you're
Mm-hmm.
saying this, but it's true. And then you feel bad about yourself, and it's a whole spiral. So, what I always encourage people to do is use affirmations in a very authentic way that feels good to you, meaning it's either going to bring relief or it's going to step you in the direction of where you want to go and help you feel more open and expanded. So, in this context, if you maybe don't have perfect health, but that's what you're going for, you would change the affirmation to something like, I'm really excited about my health journey. I'm looking forward to being healthier than I ever have been before. Um, I'm really open to learning about new ways to be healthy. I am feeling healthier today than I was yesterday. So it's really about moving yourself into that direction in a more gentle, authentic way instead of trying to force the like, and like you don't feel like that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I mean, for me, my affirmations are, they have to be present tense. They
Yeah.
can't be I'm going to be healthy, because that is not today. That isn't, and and the future is always the future. It's never today. So the present tense is super important. And with feeling is how you want to feel. It has to evoke what you how you want to feel. I love, and even I've I think one's like, I love my body. Just I love my body. If you're feeling towards the healthy vibe,
Yeah. Or even like if you're like thinking, oh, I don't always love my body, you can just be like, today I'm loving my body, like a choice, you
yeah,
can just shift it even with one word and it can feel so different.
that's really lovely, actually, to add today to it, because that's super powerful, isn't it? Yeah, I love that. So, Kelsey, tell me about your retreats, because you said you told me when we were chatting before, that was one of your main things that you love to do. Tell me about your retreats,
Yeah.
because
So they're radical self love retreats. So they are specifically focused on the self love aspect of my work because I feel like when you do that, everything else just falls into place. So we start there, we start at the core, and it's women only. So it's a girls trip. And we all gather in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And for a week, I've designed the whole schedule to be self love in all forms. So we're getting nourishment from the sun, hanging out by the pool, nourishment from connecting to each other. Like, I set everything up. It's all inclusive. So people just show up and they get pampered, they get treated. They don't have to really think hard about things. They just go with the flow and receive. And we do a lot of my self love work. So we do some parts work. I guide them through meditations. We do yoga every morning overlooking the ocean. Like, it's just a week of healing, up leveling, nourishment, raising your vibration, and connecting with other like minded women in a beautiful setting.
oh my God,
It's awesome.
can I come and teach yoga and join in?
Yes, come on the next one. I'm actually hosting one in October, beginning of October of 2023. So that'll be this year's
Yeah,
excursion.
amazing. That sounds so beautiful.
It's
And there
really
is
different
something.
too. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just going to wax lyrical about something so beautiful about being in a gang of women who you don't know, but
Yeah.
you're all there for the same reason, purpose, and there's a vibration, there's an energy about that can't be beaten.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that part is super, super powerful. And then also the part where you get out of your everyday context helps a lot, I've noticed, because when you're in a new environment, when you're at a beautiful ocean view villa, like your brain works differently and you're more open to creating a new life, and you're more open to rewiring your brain and working new neural pathways and trying new things. And I think the important part about it is the connection with the other like-minded women. That's so powerful. And also getting out of your day-to-day routine is so powerful, especially for healing work and changing your mind and elevating your life, because you can just operate and think differently.
Yeah. And it's a good kind of, it's kind of like a springboard, isn't it? It's like you take that time and then you spend however long it is that at the retreat, but then you're on a flight back to wherever you live. But there's the having that group, and I'm sure they all stay in touch and meet up on Zoom and have cocktails and all of that kind of jazz.
Yep.
And I found that that ongoing support, that ongoing kind of connection is some of the most powerful work, actually. It's not work, having
Yeah.
friends is work, but you know what I mean.
I know
It's
what
some,
you're trying to say.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's that community of support and understanding of, like, you've all been through the same wonderful transformational experience and you're going to carry it on, so you're sort of egging each other on when you have a bad day and so on.
Yeah, it's really beautiful because I always create like a WhatsApp chat group with like all the women before, so we can all get hyped and get excited and get ready. And then when we're there, we use it. And then afterwards, we use it the most, like sharing all the pictures, encouraging each other. Like I'm literally about to do a Zoom with my last retreat ladies, I think like 2 Fridays from now, just so we can catch up over lunch and like see how everyone's doing. And
Yeah.
the retreats are actually, it's interesting because this is how I became a one-on-one transformation facilitator. So for me, in my naive little brain, I just always thought like I can help more people writing books, right? That's like where I can reach the masses, like one-on-one work. Who has time for that? That's so slow. Like I can't help people one-on-one. Like it'll take forever to change the world, right? So that was like my old thinking. And then my first retreat a couple of years ago, right before the pandemic, I wanted to offer coaching to the women who came because I knew it was going to be a very activating experience. And to go back to regular life after opening up so much and changing your vibration so much can sometimes be jarring. And then you have to figure out, okay, how can I change my life now to match who I am?
Yeah.
Right. So I wanted to really handhold people through that process and offer coaching with the retreats, which I do on all my retreats now. And after the 4 weeks of coaching that I had with the women on the first retreat, I wasn't really going to offer coaching. I was just doing it for them to help them after the retreat. And they were like, wow, this work is helping me so much. Like, you're helping me so much. My life is like totally different. Like, this work is everything. I'm here for it. Like, we cannot stop working together. Like, don't stop being my coach.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, if you want to pay me, like, that's cool. And then it just became like another aspect of the business. And now that's also another one of my favorite parts, is just helping people one-on-one in the way that they need. Because now that I've become somewhat masterful at self-lovery and self-love and tuning into that vibration, I can very easily model it for people. And once we've done that enough times, I think I become like the little conscience in their brain. Like they have a Kelsey voice in their brain of like beautiful thoughts and like encouragement, and like, okay, I'm not going to judge myself for this experience, or let me sit here and be present with myself, or whatever it is. I
Yeah.
love to train people into that compassionate mindset. So that's where the coaching kind of came into play too. And now it all works together like very beautifully, because I don't know a lot of retreats where people can go and then keep doing the work after, where it's like it's a part of the experience. It's not
Yeah.
just the week, it's a
Yeah.
whole thing.
That's really special, and I totally understand where you're getting at. I mean, when I launched my course, it was to do groups, and I did groups. I've done groups for a few years now, and they're small groups, but still, that's and then I started. I had a couple of clients come and just want to do one-to-one. Actually, no, the first one was that I launched it a kind of bit soft, and I was like, I was a bit hopeless in my launch, and I only got one client, so it ended up being one-to-one, and I was like, oh God, how am I going to do this? It was the most incredible experience. It was so much more fulfilling for both them and for me. I learned so much, and now one-to-one is actually, dare I say it, my favorite
Yeah.
thing to do, Because you can tailor the work for them,
Right.
in my work, if somebody just wants to do chakra reading after chakra reading, great. If they want to talk about stuff, if they want to just just practice doing their, work on their yoga style, whatever it is that is going to work for them, there's always a modality that's just going to be right, to find that balance, because you're not going to be able to find that balance in a group, even a small group. So yeah, I feel you that I there's a lot to be said and a lot of big impact to be had in that one-to-one coaching. I don't know. I haven't done a coaching course, so I don't know if I could call myself a coach, teacher.
You
I
can.
guess.
If you're coaching people through life, you can call yourself a coach.
Yeah, I reckon I can. I reckon I can. Oh, Kelsey, so thank you so much for today. It's been a real joy, as predicted, singing off that same old hymn sheet we are. And it's just so beautiful to meet another, person who's really wanting to make such an improvement in other people's lives and for the world, because my goodness, don't we need it. But listen, tell people where they can find you, your website and so on. I'll put that in the show notes for you. But what's your website?
Yeah. So people can find me at kelseyaida.com. It's just my first and middle name, KelseyAida.com. Sure, it'll be in the show notes. That's where you can find all my books. That's where you can find out about the retreats. That's where you can find out about working with me one-on-one. Kind of everything is there. I'm really present on Instagram, a little bit on TikTok too. I'm just at Kelsey Aida on all the social platforms. So connect with me there. I put a lot of juicy stuff on Instagram Reels, I will say. And then I usually try to
you
post it on
do.
TikTok. So that's a fun place to be for free resources. And then another amazing free resource is obviously the podcast. So if you search High Vibe in it, wherever you listen, it's High Vibing it, but without the G, because we're too cool for the G. It's just a little apostrophe after the N. So just High Vibe in it, no G. You'll find us there, weekly episodes, all about healing, manifestation, self-love, all the good stuff. And yeah, I'm just really here to serve humanity, and like me helping people to feel better and enjoy their lives more and create them deliberately and live their best life is like my way of self-love, because I believe, like, from a spiritual perspective, that all love is self-love, because my spiritual belief is that we're all fractals of God, fractals of source. And so to love one another is another form of just loving yourself, right? That's another part of you. And for me, I take positive ownership of all people on the planet. And I'm like, these are parts of me. What good is it if I'm super happy living my best life if this part of me is not? So I need to bring everyone on board the heaven on earth train, So that's what I'm doing. So thank you for having me on this podcast so I can keep doing that and reach new people in that way. And yeah, this was so fun.
Thank you. Thanks, Kelsey. You're a ray of sunshine. It's been brilliant. Thanks so much.
Thank you.